So what do you think of when I say sports sedan? You think of a BMW M3, you think of Mercedes C63, maybe even the Audi RS range. I spoke to one of my great friend's mentors, and he says that he drives a sports sedan and it's not one of those. So what is it? I said, what? What are you doing? He says, have you ever driven one, Luke? And I said, no. And today, we're borrowing it. Today, we are in the Alfa Romeo Giulia QV. And let me tell you something. I have been in this all day, and I see what he's talking about. Whoa! What? I see exactly what he is talking about. Toby, I'll see you soon. Immediately in the car, I look down and I see a beautiful big red start-stop button, and it's attached to the steering wheel. It excites me. It is very Ferrari-esque. And the second thing I noticed when I sat in here is these huge paddles. The huge paddles that are console mounted so they don't spin with the wheel. They're not your part-time flappy paddles. These are serious. These are F1 style racing paddles straight out of the Ferrari models. And it just holding it just makes you want to just drive this thing before you even start moving. We start the engine up. All I can feel is Alcantara, mixed with carbon, mixed with leather. This car has everything. It's lovely. It's a lovely place to be sat. When I look at it, all the carbon fibre is fantastic. I go straight into the tech in this thing. Look, it reminds me of an older model Audi, the tech. And I'm going to start on this because I wasn't quite sure what to expect with the Alfa Romeo technology, and I just think it's slightly behind the curve in terms of top of the range sports sedans. What I just said, top of the range sports sedans, I've been driving this all day, and it is an absolute party to drive. I wasn't quite aware that this Quadrifoglio, this QV was a 0 to 100 time of 3.9 seconds, 500 plus brake horsepower, which is 375 or so kilowatts. That's massive. That's massive. Coming out of an M3, M4 and jumping into this, it is a completely different drive to start off with. And that's not good, bad or ugly. This thing handles very differently. Yes, it's your rear wheel drive. There is a lot of power. It seems to handle the power as well. It seems to put most of the power down. Great balance in the front end of the car. When you're going into corners, it's very active. Feels great. It's quick. Handles nicely. And it's very much under control in D mode, in dynamic mode. The rear, you have to really push for it to escape, for it to spin the wheels. When you do, it's a lively car. Let me tell you what, this is not a novice car in the high ranges. And that's not getting rid of some of the market. This is a damn good car to drive. But when we flick this little thing around into what Alfa Romeo like to call race mode, the absolute fire-breathing dragon starts coming out of the back. I want to flick this into manual right now. This thing turns into a monster. The first time we did it earlier on today, it almost scared me. The cabin is it's so quiet. It's so quiet and refined. And then we flick it into this race mode and open the window a touch, and it just sounds like all hell's breaking loose from in the back there. What's going on here? Perfect time. We're at some lights going onto the freeway. We're in race mode. We've got the red button start here. We've got the Ferrari flappy paddles here. We've got a V6 engine which produces close to 400 kilowatts and a 3-second 0 to 100 time. And you can't do anything more than that because we're at the speed limit. And it's such a shame we're not on an autobahn in the middle of Europe flying around. Probably a good thing. When you flick it into race mode, everything comes off. It's pure attack mode. ESC's off, the stability's off, and it is just pure aggressive attack mode. Now I just put it in while I was just driving around very slowly earlier, and it's a very rigid. The chassis becomes very rigid. The suspensions are super firm. You wouldn't drive it around your local estate. But when you can open it up, it feels like it feels like a race car. It is rapid, this thing. Rapid. Wow, I was not expecting this today. Not expecting it at all. Again, it's super attacking. So you've got to be so careful because as soon as it is in race mode, the difference between dynamic and race mode in this thing is a good sort of 40%, I dare say, of the engine capacity, and you need that extra talent just to really realize what you're dealing with here. Do not underestimate this thing. The difference between dynamic and race in this is far superior to the difference between maybe M1 and M2 mode in the BMW. Whew. Oh dear, we have woken the neighbours up today. Toby, we have certainly woken them up because this thing is loud and aggressive and boisterous. And as soon as I do that, it's just deadening. Yes, I can still hear the exhaust. I'm in attack mode, but it's such a quiet place to be. That is some engineering right there, Mr. Alfa and Mr. Romeo. Beautiful carbon fibre finish. It's got nice 19-inch wheels, I think. I could even go the black ones. They've got a number of different colours. I really like the red. I really like this deep red. It's a real deep Italian-like red. The exhaust, the quad exhausts, as we've seen all day, they are making all sorts of racket. Now, there is one thing that I was really happy that Toby told me about, is this. I keep seeing this brand. What does it mean? Where does that come into play for Alfa Romeo, an Italian giant? Well, I'll tell you what. Toby actually brought this to my attention, and it was epic. The four-leaf clover reverts back to 4 drivers who Alfa Romeo had way back in the day, who were just elite. One of whom was Enzo Ferrari. They became the top 4 in all the local races, and it's just a really beautiful story. One of them passed. This used to be a square around the four-leaf clover. One of them passed, and it's become a triangle as an ode, as a homage to the Alfa Romeo racing days, and I thought that was a really nice point. Plus, it touches on where Enzo Ferrari came from and the Ferrari feel to the vehicle. Really nice. Big scoops. I can smell the engine. It needs cooling because it is an elite vehicle. For what it's got under the bonnet, this 2.9 V6 that is just an absolute flyer, it's a fairly understated car. I totally understand why people buy this. It looks great, but it's not a really in-your-face sort of look-at-me style car. I am super impressed. Super impressed. I'm really glad, Tobes, we came out today in this. It's so lively. It is great. That is fantastic fun.